And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win. From Needless Kane, we have the immortal question of who would win in a fight? Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku, from My Hero Academia, versus Toph Beifong from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And you may be asking yourself, are you insane? This is speed around. Deku would annihilate Toph. And no, but the winner of this fight would still almost certainly be Deku. But the reason this is not a speed round is this is nowhere near as clear cut as I think some people would make it. Why do I think that? Well, look at our combatants, starting with Izuku, the one I do think would win. Izuku, by the end of his run with One for All, was stronger than All Might in his prime. He was able to, who could literally change the weather and basically hit with the power of a nuke. Well, maybe not straight nuke, but you know what I mean. And he had surpassed All Might at that point. So just sheer physicality and speed, he was able to blitz, batter, and he'd take a lot of damage. He also had access to 6 insanely powerful quirks. With Black Whip, probably the most versatile out of the 6 quirks, as it produced a black energy-like substance, similar to Venom's symbiote form, although it wasn't actually, symbiote Q, it was more energy, it's just kind of compared to it. But a black energy that could be used for grappling, used to actually brace and defend himself. He can use it for extra movement, extra to grab individuals. A very powerful quirk. He also had the ability float, which allowed him to float, which in conjunction with his ability to literally punch so hard he had giant gusts of air appear, allowed him to fly. He obviously also had access to danger sense, which allowed him to sense incoming danger. It formed almost like a quick migraine feeling. All right, I think it's shown like as a lightning bolt. It must feel kind of like an electric shock in his forehead. Then he also has access to fog, which, as it sounds, makes a fog appears. It obscures individuals' visions. Then the two arguably strongest quirks. Fajin. Fajin was always one of my favorites because essentially by doing repeated motions over and over again, like me doing this over and over and over and over again, you're building up kinetic energy within your body in those stored areas. And basically, you can release it at any point in time. The more you do it, the more energy you store. The only downside was it took a while to store any significant amount of energy to do any sort of real damage. But when you did it, you could literally use a Fox 100%. That's what Deku did against the god. He used a Fox 100% against her, meaning he was using about, I want to say 45 to 50% of his normal power. Anything beyond that would break his bones. But then by adding the Fajin on there, he actually used essentially 100%. If he was able to effectively use 100%, he'd be adding more than that onto Fajin, like 120, 150. He'd be going beyond his actual limit. Again, the only downside to Fajin is the the amount of time it takes to store enough kinetic energy, like just constantly moving due to repeated energy movements. I've always argued that just walking is in fact a repeated motion. Some of your basic movements are repeated motions, but apparently that's not quite how it works. You do need to just prepare for a fight. Still, it's an exceptionally powerful technique when used properly. And then finally, Gear Shift, which is arguably the strongest one, actually, because this literally allowed you to control the speed of objects. And by the time Deku had it, he could literally control not just the speed of small objects like the original user, I believe Bruce was it, but no, I don't think he was. I think the Fajin user's name was Bruce. But the original user, you only could use it on small objects. He could use it on himself to basically and on someone else to basically break the laws of physics. He literally can move so fast that he literally just reality was kind of starting to break. He was moving so fast, and because he can control someone's momentum and speed, he can literally stop something in place without any negative repercussion to the laws of physics, like inertia. So instead of if you ever stop real quick, you get that jerk. No, he can just stop like that. Or stop someone too. Now, Toph, on the other hand, her main ability is earthbending. But as far as earthbenders go, there really has never been an earthbender as strong as her. At her peak, and even beyond her peak, like we see her again in Korra. I know that, and she's an old woman, but it's debatable whether or not she's at her peak, because people in Avatar live a long time. It's debatable whether or not she's at her peak at that point, because maybe she's not as physically strong as she used to be, but she certainly has the skill. She's literally connected to I think to like the swamp she's in, and I can't recall if she said she could sense everything in the swamp or she could sense everything on the planet. But her seismic sense, her ability to just more or less her kind of version of echolocation, was so attuned she could sense everything kind of around her on a massive scale. That means unless Deku's in the air, she's always going to know where he is. Then her actual ability to bend Earth is so great that she is literally kind of a force of nature. She's capable of doing the base things, throwing rocks, causing some craters, but she can literally cause earthquake-like effects. She can bury people in the dirt, in the ground, no problem. She can sense Earth in the sky, which shouldn't be possible, but she's capable of doing it. She is also capable of manipulating metal and using it as armor, or just manipulating it and using it as such. She can literally take out tanks. She can bring down a mountain range. She is insanely powerful. This brings me to the point of why Deku would win, but not a 1-to-1, a clear-cut victory here. Not a 1-to-1, I shouldn't say. Not a clear-cut stomp. You see, Deku probably wouldn't be going into this fight all out. While Toph's reflex speed is not quite at the snuff to say Deku's speed, especially if he's using gear shift, she does have the reflexes to immediately react, and Deku would still have to go through rock, which, yeah, he could probably do without too much difficulty, but if she's got in terms of like tactical experience, at her peak, she's got way more than he does, which means she knows how to use her environment to her advantage. Now, the one catch, again, like I said, is if he's, say, floating in the sky, she is kind of SOL. Like, she can't sense him if there's no Earth on him or anything like that. However, I imagine if she figures this out pretty quick, she might plant some rocks on him in his outfit or something like that, so she immediately knows where he is. This means that the minute he hits the ground, or goes into the air, she'll still know where he is, be able to just launch massive amounts of Earth at him. And there's, unlike Deku, unlike her, he's got a limit to what he can do. Like, it's a massive limit, but he can tie her up. Like, his energy can run out. Whereas, as long as Toph is just still able to, she's always going to have Earth around her. There even is an Earthbender type character within, I believe it was like the Pussycat Dolls or something like that, the team during the training arc in the forest, that has an Earth-bending kind of quirk. So, it's not that Deku isn't used to fighting these individuals, it's just that the massive scale of what she's capable of doing, I think, even supersedes this character. Granted, Toph isn't making like giant animals out of Earth or anything like that. No, she's just a bit more blunt force and a bit more direct. She could easily swallow him up and try to crush him, but he would still likely burst, but not without out of the ground, but not without injury. It would be a little bit of a battle of attrition because, again, she's always going to have Earth on call, and unlike a lot of the quirk users, she doesn't have any clear-cut weakness for tiring out or limitations to her ability. It's simply a matter of, stamina versus stamina here. Now, that being said, because of that, Deku does still win. His stamina, by all accounts, because of One for All, is far greater than hers is. But I still think it's worthy of noting that she arguably could win if she knocked his ass out, which she theoretically could. It's just that, again, with all of his excess quirks, including Danger Sense, I feel like he would still probably be able to avoid a knockout. He'd still probably get injured, but he'd be able to pull out the win. So while it's not a stomp, it is a very decisive win for Midoriya. That's not to say, again, that Toph wouldn't be able to put up a good defense or or throw her hands up or anything like that. She, I think, could still give him a good fight for a while. It's just, ultimately, he's going to edge her out. And there, again, like I said, there are certainly avenues she could win. I just don't think they're the likely scenario. This is just my thoughts, though. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Later.